It is now in order to consider the amendment number 124 printed in Part A of House Report 118-261. For what purpose does the gentleman from Florida seek recognition?
I have an amendment at the desk.
The clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment number 124, printed in Part A of House Report number 118-261, offered by Mr. Posey of Florida.
Pursuant to House Resolution 838, the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Posey, and a member opposed each will control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Florida.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My amendment would reduce the EPA Environmental Programs and Management account for the Office of the Air and Radiation by 50%. This office has destroyed an entire industry already and is currently working hard to bankrupt a family-owned business in my district. The EPA's Air Office used a regulatory process to destroy the glider truck industry in favor of a Chinese-owned trucking industries. Many of these glider trucks are operated by small mom-and-pop businesses. Now the same EPA is targeting a family-owned business in my district that supplies the only domestic manufactured outboard motors preferred by the U.S. Navy SEALs and other special operations forces, including our allies. They are putting their Green New Deal agenda ahead of our nation's national security and the safety of our men and women on the front lines protecting our freedom. My amendment reduces the number of unelected, unaccountable, unrecallable bureaucrats from vetoing the U.S. Navy SEAL military equipment that they direly need. I ask my colleagues to support me in joining this amendment, and I'm happy to yield a minute to my good friend from Tennessee, Congressman Rose.
The gentleman yields 1 minute to the gentleman from Tennessee. The gentleman from Tennessee is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, today I rise in support of the amendment offered by the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Posey, which would reduce funding for the Office of Air and Radiation under the EPA by 50%. The EPA's Office of Air and Radiation is one of the most radical, out-of-touch, and burdensome regulatory authorities in the federal government that most Americans have never heard of. They are essentially charged with carrying out the Biden administration and progressive Democrats' job and economy-killing Green New Deal agenda. The unelected bureaucrats at the Office of Air and Radiation have repeatedly targeted small business industries, people's livelihoods, and the way of life for thousands of Americans with little or no regard. It's time the American people's representatives in this body, the U.S. House, say enough is enough and remove the EPA's boot from the neck of the American people. There's no better way to start than supporting Mr. Posey's amendment. I urge my colleagues to join me in doing so.
The gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Florida is recognized.
Reserve.
The gentleman reserves. For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Maine seek recognition?
To seek time in opposition to this amendment.
The gentlewoman is recognized.
Mr. Chair, a cut of this magnitude on top of the cuts already included in the base bill would nearly eliminate the office. This means that we will no longer have anyone in the government to run programs that prevent air pollution, ensure high-quality indoor and outdoor air, monitor and reduce pollution from vehicles and engines, prevent acid rain, protect the public against radiation, monitor and address stratospheric ozone depletion. This is draconian, and short-sighted cuts put all Americans at risk. I oppose this amendment, and I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentlewoman yields back. The gentleman from Florida is recognized.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, we're talking about a rogue agency here that is not only failing to do the job that they're supposed to do, but they're out harming people. And when they're harming the heroes that are on the front lines that direly need their supplies, while they fiddle or faddle in the back room, whatever they do, and deny those supplies, while themselves they gorge upon $10 million in combat materials and weapons, which I asked the administrator about in a meeting a couple of weeks ago. I said, tell me why the EPA needs the $10 million in combat-grade arms. And he said, well, I didn't know we got it. He said, I'll get back to you. I'll explain it to you. I'm still waiting to hear the answer. there needs to be some accountability for agencies that are going off the track, and I think this is really a good start, and I reserve.
The gentleman has the only time remaining. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes.
The gentleman yields. The question is on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Florida. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to.